All right, so we are live. Welcome everyone to the second episode of Amazing Lives. Today I present you the one and only Cole Napper. Cole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ian. It's an honor to be your second guest.
And the honor is mine because I was a little nervous to interview today. You're kind of a big deal in people analytics.
I think I am more nervous than you are, to be honest with you, having seen what you wanted to talk to me about today. But thank you for that. And I don't feel that way, but I appreciate the compliment.
So you do acknowledge what I hear from you. So you do acknowledge that you are a big deal in people analytics.
I feel like, are you like a lawyer who's like backing me into like some logic argument here where
We are logical people in data, so.
Well, I will say one of the things I am trying to work on, like as a point of development, is to accept compliments because like I'm just not good at it.
Yeah.
So instead of usually when somebody compliments me, I just start arguing with them, and that's not a really healthy way of going about doing it. So I'm trying to accept your compliment, Ian.
I appreciate that self-growth. We'll dig into that a little bit today. So Cole, I've known you for a while, and invited you onto this show because I do think you have an amazing backstory. And I want to go back to how I get to know you and how I start to think this person is amazing. I think I reached out to you when I got laid off like a couple of years ago. I got laid off and I was in a bad place. And I reached out to this person who's a public figure on LinkedIn, who's always, shared very helpful resources on people analytics. I reached out and I thought, okay, maybe this person is going to give me some helpful tips. And you did. But surprisingly, you were super real with me in almost like a snarky way.
That doesn't sound like me at all.
Not at all. I don't know if you recall this, but I think we got into a little bit of hey, like making dashboards, and we got into talking about how you were telling me, like, if you think your entire job is about making dashboards, then that's your opinion, man. I can't really tell you where to go. Does that sound like something you would say?
It does. I don't remember it, but it does sound like something I would say. So, yeah, that was at a point in my life where I was taking a lot of those phone calls every week. So,
Yeah,
they all kind of bleed together at a certain point. But yeah, it does ring a bell.
I was surprised that you even responded to my message and agreed with talking to me because I assumed you were very busy. But have you always made a point to make time for those who reach out to you on LinkedIn, even if they're complete strangers?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm doing it less nowadays, just because. But yeah, the answer to your question is yes. I've actually done a lot of that over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly now I'm mostly busy, but also I'd done this period of time where I used to like put these like links out there where people could book time for mentoring.
Yeah.
And and I figured out like something like only 5 or 10% of people actually like would find value from the conversation, and most people just were like looking for a job or something like that, like just like not something that was particularly helpful. And so now my barrier is more like if somebody can actually, I respond to almost all LinkedIn messages. People know this, like they reach out to me, even like the spam ones. But you've got to like prove what you actually want to get out of the conversation. And if you can't, I'm just going to ghost you. So like now I'm just more judicious, I guess you could say.
Yeah, same here. I think for a period of time, I put my Calendly link in my profile, and I got a lot of unprompted like meeting invites, which as I start to have a busier schedule, like I think when I started doing this, my schedule wasn't as busy as yours. I don't know if it'll ever be, but when you get those prompted messages, it does create interruptions in your day. So if that is a trade-off, you kind of wanted to make sure that you're using that time to provide value to the person on the other side of the call. And I share a similar experience, which is, most of the time people don't, like they either have very specific questions that I think can be answered in a message, and then or they start with like chit chatting, but then always end up with, hey, like, do you have a job that I can apply to,
Yeah.
or do you know someone who's hiring? So as much as I share your passion of like helping with the community, I just don't think that is a very efficient way anymore, and I feel like that's probably going to piss off some people or seem ungrateful as we
It's not.
here.
I mean, the way I look at it is when I started doing that, it was kind of coming off the heels of the pandemic, and connecting with people virtually was really like the only way you could meet somebody.
Yeah.
Now I'm out and about all the time. If you want to meet me, it's not hard to find me.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to, but it's going to be more likely to be in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And frankly, just on a personal note, I like knowing people more in real life than I do virtually too.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like when you came into Dallas last time, we ended up hanging out because like that's like I think I should have a say in what I personally value, and if I personally value meeting in real life, that's where we should meet.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, but in the case of a virtual meetup or a virtual meeting, what kind of conversation is valuable to you? Like, what kind of questions would you want people to ask you?
Well, I heard a stand-up comedian say this the other day, and this was really, I wish I had heard this years ago, frankly, because it kind of transformed things for me. I was like, why in certain conversations do I feel like they're awesome? In other conversations, I'm like really frustrated. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And they said something like, if you feel like, something needs to get fixed and it's your job to fix it, that's called ambition. And they said, if you feel like something needs to get fixed and you feel like it's somebody else's job to fix it, that's called entitlement. And I was like, whoa. And I feel like the most productive conversations I had is somebody asking me for help about how they could fix their own problems.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are great. This is like awesome. And this is the kind of like, frankly, the kind of advice that I seek from other people is like, I always know that the ball's in my court. I got to fix it. But sometimes I don't have the right solutions. Can you help me figure out what the right solutions are? Yeah. Or like when somebody tries to make their problem my problem, it's like, I just don't know what to do. Like you got to take some ownership of it first.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you get questions like, Cole, like, I want to grow up to be you. How do I do that? Do you get questions like that?
I've gotten, not in those words, but like sometimes people will ask things like what they usually use is like a lead in, like, can you tell me a little bit about like your career journey?
Yeah.
And like, we don't have 2 hours. So, we're going to have to condense.
You're like, I'm old. Like I've got like 20 years.
Well, I just moved a bunch of jobs. And so it's like kind of gets pedantic after a while to say, well, and then I was an analyst for the 3rd time at XYZ company, and stuff like that. But I always tell people like what they probably want. Like I always think it comes back to somebody's risk profile. Like I have a pretty high risk profile compared to most people. It's one of those things I figured out by talking to a lot of people. I didn't realize this. I thought I had kind of like a normal risk profile, but I think mine is like a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
And what they are looking for is like advice that fits within their risk profile. Because like if you just want to like mirror the things that I did, well, they may not have made sense, but they may have made sense at the time that I did them, but they may not actually be good advice right now. Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, I just say like they do ask those kind of questions, but what I try to do is frame it within the reference of like, what does success mean for them? Not as what does it mean to like just copy somebody else or copy me or something like that. That seems a lot less fulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah. I do wonder, because you hold one of those very few jobs in people analytics in our entire field. Like, first, maybe you could tell our Amazing Lives audience. I'm sure most people here would know you, but if you could use a moment to explain what do you do in people analytics, and I have follow-up questions for you.
I'd actually say I don't. I mean, it depends on your definition of people analytics. I'm not even sure I do people analytics anymore. So I'm the VP of Research, Innovation, and Talent Insights for Lightcast, which is a labor market intelligence firm. And so I classically trained in IO psychology, which is kind of like studying the 6 inches between your ears and like how does that affect work.
Yeah.
Right. And this is more looking at kind of like the macro labor market and how does that apply to not just individuals, but mostly like companies and industries and functions and technologies. And it's fascinating and it's really interesting. It's like, frankly, me turning over kind of a new page in my career. But one of the things, I guess, to your question, like, how is this different? It's one of the few kind of externally facing research slash thought leadership type roles that exist out there in the market. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the second one of those I've ever really had because I worked at a company called Orgnostic a few years ago in somewhat of a similar capacity, and they're sort of rare. And frankly, I think a lot of people, to your question before, like want to have my career. A lot of people have asked me, is moving to a vendor like a credible career pathway, right?
Mhm.
And like, how do you do that? And so I guess I don't usually tell them how I do it, but I mostly show them how I do it just by nature of like what I'm doing out in the world. Like
Yeah.
these are the things that you can do on that pathway.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like a lot of people in our field can do your job?
Oh gosh, I don't even know if I can do my job.
What's hard about your job?
Well, I think one thing you have to know about me, and again, I don't know if this is normal to people in the field or not, but I crave variety. Like I remember I was this is a while ago now, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I was a hiring manager for a position. And I was interviewing somebody to be on my team,
Yeah.
and they said, Cole, from the way you're describing the position, it sounds like someone really has to be flexible to do what you're doing. And I said,
Mhm.
absolutely not. I just want to hire somebody who craves variety the same way that I do.
Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
it's kind of the same thing, but from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
And so I would say to do what I do effectively, you have to crave variety at almost like a superhuman level
Mhm.
because you
Mhm.
cover a
Mhm.
lot of ground in
Yeah.
terms of the different research topics, the frankly the pace, the travel,
Yeah.
just the pure output and throughput that goes into it.
Yeah.
You're going to have like a high motor, like a lot of variety, and just a passion for this space that is not surface level.
Yeah. Yeah. Frankly, I think a lot of people want to be you or grow up to be you because of the glamour that
This is
comes
so
with it.
weird to talk to somebody who's saying these kind of things, by the way. I like it's like it's extremely uncomfortable.
What is it complimentary fact? Is it because it's a huge compliment for you, or does it not sound like you?
um Kind of neat. I mean, I like again on the complimentary part, again, I'm trying to accept compliments more, so thank you for that. But I think it's because people see the outcome, they don't see the journey,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And I'm like, I'm not sure if you saw the journey, you would want to sign up for the outcome.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
so that's the thing where again you asked me if like people ask for like career advice to like how can you replicate my career? I'm like, great. At one point I moved to 9 cities in 8 years. Right. Do you want to do that? Because that's what I did and I didn't like it at the time.
yeah, yeah.
And so like it's like there's a lot that goes into this that I don't know, it's maybe harder than meets the eye, let's say.
How did those? I mean, both highlights and lowlights from our career make who we are today, right? How did those tough times, those behind the scene? I mean, I'm not saying you're a glamorous person because I know you're low key.
Yeah.
But your job is it has glamour. It's a kind
Yeah.
of glamorous effect to it. Like you goes to these big conferences, you
Hmm.
talk to, important people in our fields, you write books, you speak at big conferences towards thousands of people. Like these are, the spotlight moments. But what happens behind the scene that made you um who you are today, made you like capable of doing this?
I'm gonna try to do this with you, and I struggle to talk about this stuff publicly. I think it's just I've always felt like I didn't have a voice and I wanted to have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for what felt like eons, like an eternity in my career, I would have this thing. I've shared this publicly before, but this is more of like, this isn't exactly what's happened, but it was like a distillation of like 30 different experiences down into one, which is
Yeah.
I'd be in a meeting at work. We'd be talking with like some senior leader or something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they would ask a question, I would say a response, and they would be like, "Wow, that's brilliant. Who said that, Cole?" And I was like, it's me. Like I said it right now.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to like attribute the things that I had said to someone else, and that would drive me crazy. And I just didn't like, I felt like I was just like completely obscure.
Yeah.
No one knew who I was. And so all I wanted was to have a voice.
Yeah.
The thing that you start to realize, like, so I started actively taking steps to go that direction, which is a lot of work and it's a lot of extracurricular stuff, and people aren't necessarily supportive. And when at your work, when you start to do that kind of stuff, and then you start to get a voice, and then I realized, like, I don't even know what I want to do with this voice. I just wanted to have it. And so one of the journeys that I've been on really this year, frankly, because I had kind of an acute experience over this year that opened my eyes that I was maybe not as productive as I'd like to be for like the amount of effort that I was putting into these things, is I needed to have like a plan. I needed to have a goal. And I realized that having a voice isn't a goal. Having a voice for a purpose is a goal. And that's what I've really spent a lot of this year trying to do, is to recalibrate and say, like, why am I doing these things and to what end, and how, frankly, like, how can the effort that I'm putting into it justify the benefits that I'm getting on the back end?
So has there been any revelation? What's your goal?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I kind of like just being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I know it sounds like the most immature teenager thing to say, but I just wanted to be able to like, I guess one of the things that you need to know about me is, like, I'm not like an artistic person, but I am a creative person. And I've needed a creative outlet almost my entire life in one capacity or another. And so what I really found that was difficult about the transition, and frankly, I'm not even on the other side of yet, is how to continue to feel like you are getting your creative juices filled while still doing things that might be intended to like make money. Right. And there's a reason why there's a lot of starving artists out there, is because a lot of times your art is at odds with the ability to make money. And so being able to kind of reconcile those two things, frankly, I'm not on the other side of it yet.
Yeah. I have one controversial opinion about people analytics, which is we need to figure out how to make money from this field. We need to be better at this. And I think we shy away from it. The vendors don't shy away from it. The practitioners do. A lot of us do community work. We share knowledge. We, build out communities, connections, mentorship, like out of passion, love, self-fulfillment for in this field. And I think this field, the growth over the last 15-ish years have really benefited from practitioners like this, but very few of us gotten anything back. And it is the vendors, the technological partners that took away from the communities that we built together. Now, this is, again, controversial opinion.
It's not controversial. You sound like the first 3 chapters of my book, because that's all I talk about is producing business value. So this is actually the strange thing that I've gone through, which is I've actually, I don't have 100% data on this, but I'm pretty confident when I say this. I think that the teams that I've led have contributed more business value than any other teams in the world. Like, I really mean that, because I've asked all these other teams, I'm like, do you have an ROI on your work? Like, you have made a commitment to the business? They haven't. And these are the top teams, and I've talked to all of them. And so who else is doing it out there that wouldn't have been? And so I look at it and I say, I had no trouble making money for the businesses I was a part of. I've worked at 2 vendors now. I have no trouble making money for those vendors. I can't for the life of me why I'm feel so conflicted about making money for myself. That is the weirdest part of this transition. And it's very hard to vocalize that out loud. I always feel like selfish saying it or something like that. But it's something I've really struggled with, because again, I don't mind doing it for other people. Why should I mind so much doing it for myself?
Do you feel like it's a certain personality or characteristics that we all share as a field, as an industry, or is there something wrong about our field that is very hard to commercialize or monetize?
I mean, I think I'll be charitable when I say this, because I really like people analytics, and I don't think that we're a bunch of screwed up people. I think it's that, like, I've jokingly said before, if if I had decided to go into like finance or IT or any of those kind of professions with the same skill set I had, I'd make way more money.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm in this field is because I find human beings and what they care about to be so interesting, like infinitely interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Like if you have like a really hard to get skill set,
Yeah.
but you know, this is gonna make me talk about everyone gets paid the same, which is this theory that no one likes to have. But like some people get paid in caring about the things that they work on, and some people get paid in dollars.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I luckily have had the blessing of having been paid in both.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why people go into people analytics is because they feel like they get paid in both. And frankly, in the last few years, when I think sometimes the salaries have been compressed somewhat, I think
Yeah.
people are starting to second guess that self because they're like, I can have my cake and eat it too. Am I still interested in being in people analytics if it's not as lucrative as it once was?
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked about, writing about this, kind of touching on the ROI of people analytics in your book, and that's the book behind you on the shelf, right?
Yeah, people analytics using generative AI and
Yeah, and
data-driven
I
HR
have
as a business asset. Look at you. You
a
got
clear
notes and
copy
everything.
over here, and we're gonna digging more into your book later on. But Cole, as far as I know, this career, this figurehead career of people analytics, is not the first time you have internet fame.
Oh gosh. You're
What
gonna
do
make me
I,
do this.
I,
This is
I've heard that you've been famous since you were a teenager. Would you like to share a little bit about that story?
I'm gonna quit telling you things. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna quit talking to you about stuff. So one of the things that I do when I have conversations with people, especially if I get to know them, is I'll try to use examples from my life as like a way of showing like when you're on your own journey, this is what it feels like. And regretfully, I shared an example with you, Yan, and this is punishment for having her on my podcast. And she was extremely vulnerable there, and I was frankly in awe of you because like you're a much more well-adjusted human being than I am, and so I really appreciate you doing that. I think hundreds, if not thousands, of people felt the same way. So, thank you for doing it. But what you're asking me about that I'm trying to like delay is I don't know how to talk about it. So like sometimes you'll be in an adult life and then somebody will be like, that reminds me of like AOL Instant Messenger and be like, okay, we all were kids once. Thank you.
Yeah.
I remember like we had these similar experiences. So there was this website, again, as an adult, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it, but it's called Zanga.
Mm.
And there was like competitors like LiveJournal. This is kind of pre MySpace, but MySpace was also hot after a while, pre Facebook and all of that. And when I was in high school, it's kind of mortifying to say this now because like if my kids were doing this, I would be mortified. I had started this like blog on Zanga, and it got to this point where it was like nationally famous. And I just write in it literally in the library at lunchtime
Wow.
at my school. Like while other people were going to eat in the cafeteria, I would go to the library because I didn't have internet at home. Like this is like how back in time this is.
Yeah.
I didn't have internet at my house, so I would go to the library at school and I just write down the stuff that was in my head for like 30 minutes, post that, and eventually it just kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And it was so weird to me at the time that like thousands of people were reading this thing that I deleted it. And then I started another one under a different name, and then it got nationally famous. And it was so weird. And so like then I just deleted that one and I stopped doing it. I was like, why are people reading this stuff?
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that and why this kind of came up, I think, with you is I realized that when I started writing for like Directionally Correct and things like that, I was actually scratching an itch from like high school that I hadn't scratched in like 20 years. And it was strange, frankly, to like think like that this was like again a creative outlet. And frankly, it's kind of caught on in the same way that it did back then. And so thank you for embarrassing me, Yan, and talking about something
Well,
from
that's
like
not embarrassing. I don't see it in embarrassing at all. I think it's one of the stories that make me actually see who you are and what made you do what you do, because like you said, you've always wanted this creative outlet. And I think in one of our very first conversations, we got into the deep topic about because I think I was telling you then I wanted to get famous on LinkedIn. Like I see all of these people who have a voice, and I wanted to write, and I have this need for creative outlets as well. And as I start dipping my toes in it, I instantly regretted it. I was like, this is very toxic platform, and for all of these things, and you kind of like shared a lot of the similar feelings, which made me, and I think it was the first time you brought up the story, and it made me see who you are, and admired you a little bit more, because you saw the public platform for what it is. Like, you don't shy away from the dark side of it, but you're still doing it despite the complication of how you're feeling about it. And I know it has not always made you feel great about it. But you kind of show me the other side, someone who's just kept doing things as he is on this self discovery journey, which quite frankly is something I admire.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I think you said like everything you said right now, I just resonate with so much. You asked me a question earlier in the conversation, what's like my origin story, like what motivates me or whatever. One of the things that people who know me well know is I'm incredibly stubborn. Like I'm like preternaturally stubborn, and you can't make me do something. And I kind of felt like LinkedIn has tried to do that to me.
Yeah,
It keeps making me want to change. The people on there keep making me want to be somebody who I'm not. And just out of pure stubbornness, I'm just like, you can't make me do it. And I'm going to keep being my way, regardless of whether you want me to or not.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I know that sounds like really insane and again,
yeah,
juvenile, but it's like whether it's algorithmically or through what gets upranked and downranked, or frankly just by who like loves you and who doesn't at the particular moment.
yeah,
It's just like I got like the thing I've tried to really focus on is like, how do I continue to be me regardless of how the world changes around me. I was actually chatting with somebody, I'm not going to name them, but they've become a pretty good friend of mine recently, and they were talking about how they're kind of, as the kids say, glowing up
yeah,
lately.
yeah.
And and they were saying like, I don't understand it because I feel like I'm the same and the world is changing around me.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
Is and so you talk to me about people asking, do they want to be me when they grow up? And I'm like, that is such a weird question to ask a normal guy like me, right? And it's because the world around me has changed. I haven't changed. The world around you has changed. You haven't
yeah.
changed. And frankly, that's why I like you. And sometimes I really don't like the world. And it's a really kind of challenging position to be in.
I think I blame a lot on algorithm,
Yeah.
because particularly I think the platform LinkedIn as a platform, it dehumanizes people.
Hmm.
Like, the algorithm rewards personalities, or I guess like the facade that people put online, like the big title, the promotions, the tear jerking stories. Like, it's a facade. It's not real. Nobody's life is 100% happy and 100% sad. And the algorithm does not reward authenticity. It does not reward genuine connection. It rewards engagement. So I think it creates a lot of challenges for people who has been using LinkedIn for, I don't know, the last like a decade, 15 years. It started from a place where it's all about community and knowledge sharing,
Yep.
making genuine connections that would normally be hard to have in a world where you're only making professional connections in your own town or your own city, right? So that, I think, has been long lost by
Yeah.
what the platform has been pushing lately.
No, I mean, I seriously, I met a senior leader at LinkedIn at a conference a few weeks ago, and I was kind of conveying what you were saying right now, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, no, you need to listen to me, because what I'm saying is you're ruining something that's great and it's preventable.
Yeah,
And like, I really like, I was very forward with them because I think they were just thinking like, well, Instagram and TikTok could everybody could say the same thing about like, yeah, but you guys were different and you weren't like this. They were always like that.
yeah, yeah.
And so you've done something, you changed, and it doesn't have to be this way. And so again, I don't think they're actually going to listen, but it's just, I don't know. It's like they're destroying something that used to be beautiful, and it really, really irks me.
Yeah. So, despite all of that, you continue to have, like you said, you want to scratch that need for, for creative outlets to share your mind, how are you doing it now? Like, is it through Directional Correct, which is, as you said, the #1 podcast in people analytics?
I don't know if that's much to write home about.
Well, that's your tagline, so
I know. I do still engage in branding and things like that too. So
yeah.
I try to be somewhat professional. But like, what am I still able to like share my ideas and things like that? Is that really the question?
Well, I guess I still wanted to dig deeper into Directionally Correct.
Yeah.
Where did it start? Like, what makes you want to start it?
Well, it was Scott. So I got to get Scott Hines, my co-host, got to give him all the credit. And frankly, I've got to give Al Adamson some credit as well. So Al had me on his podcast a few years ago. And again, I don't know how many people watched it, but Scott saw it, and he's been a friend of mine for a while. And he approached me and said, I thought it was really cool what you were saying on there. I felt like I kind of got a new lens on you, and I've known you. We should start something together. And it was his idea, and then we just kind of ran with it from there. It has gone through many evolutions, and frankly, there's a newsletter associated with it too. The newsletter is kind of just me because I share like my random article ideas. I'd say like the IQ level of the newsletter is much higher than the podcast, if that makes sense, because the idea quality there is much higher. I think it surprises people sometimes, because they're like, "Whoa, he's talking about this other stuff over here." But the podcast itself, I realized that at first we used to struggle a lot with like, how do we keep it conversational? And I'd say as podcasts go, it's very conversational for let's call it a business related podcast. But the thing that I just kind of had to come to peace with is like, it's not about me. It's about whoever we have on there. Yeah. And that was always like a struggle in the beginning. Cause like you want to interrupt somebody and like make a good point. And it's like, it's not about you, it's about them. Yeah. And so I've kind of gone through this recent transformation where at first we just like struggled to get guests, and then everybody wanted to be a guest. And so like, then I could have a chance to talk to all these people I'd admired, but didn't really know. Yeah. And then a lot of times those conversations were quite boring because they were seeing it as a transaction rather than a relationship. And so I think kind of the current phase and the next phase that I'm in is I just want to talk to people who I think are cool that I'm friends with. Like, and I really mean that because like, I think we can only have like the good episodes, frankly, like your episode, with people who we've already gotten past the bullshit, right? That we've gotten past the self-promotion. We've gotten past the, did we talk about your book yet? Like that kind of stuff. I think I can only have those kind of conversations with people who already have an existing relationship with. And frankly, that's what keeps me going with the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. What thinking back, I think it's 134 episodes now.
I think it's 143, but who's
143? I misremember the number. Do you have a favorite from the 143 episode?
I don't have a favorite episode, but I do have a favorite moment, and I've told her because I don't know about when this like when in relationship to the episode is going to come out, what's going to be here, but so the first time Alexis Fink was on the podcast, we were recording live at PsyOp, and we. Scott comes up with the craziest questions. One of his questions was like, what was the most crazy thing you've ever done for love? Yeah. And she actually answered, and she turned bright red and was like blushing like crazy. And it was just such a human moment. Yeah. That I honestly, baby, like Alexis knows, like I think almost more highly of her than maybe anyone on earth. Yeah. And it just made me appreciate her so much more because I realized that this kind of like titan in the field is also a human being. Yeah. And I definitely know that was my favorite moment of the podcast that we've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes me want to recreate that moment with you, Cole.
Yeah. Sadly, my blushing doesn't come through.
I think it's coming out. What is the craziest things that you have done for love?
Oh, the craziest thing, I don't know. Well, I mean, like, this is sort of crazy in today's day and age, but as a part of the moving around to all those different cities earlier in my career, my wife, then girlfriend, and we were long distance for literally years before we got married. And that was pretty crazy and hard. And so, I'd say that's definitely the craziest thing I've done for love, because people always say, oh, long distance is never going to work. But we talked to each other literally every night, like at the same time. Didn't matter what was going on. Didn't matter if it was Friday night or whatever. We always did that. And if you're committed to somebody else, you can kind of make that kind of thing work. But But again, I wish we didn't have to do that. I wish, and so it was a crazy experience though at the time.
Yeah, things we do. Well, so you, now you still travel a lot for work.
Do what?
You still travel a lot for work,
Oh
right?
yeah, travel. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'm actually getting on a plane tomorrow. I was on a plane last week. Yes, I travel a lot.
yeah. What does your wife think about it?
Well, she's very supportive. I think it does kill me sometimes 'cause I have two small children,
Yeah,
and they're just always very sad when daddy's leaving. But I make like I do not like much to my coworkers and sometimes the conference organizers who invite me chagrin. I don't stay places long anymore. Like
yeah,
I if I can make a trip in 22 hours or fly
yeah,
out in the morning and fly back that night for the city, I will do it.
yeah,
Or take a red eye, and it's to be with my family because I like my family more than all you guys. Sorry,
yeah.
like that's what I care about the most. And yeah, I mean, my wife is very supportive of it, and she knows the sacrifices that we have to make to kind of, get ahead in the world. And we're doing it for the family, not just for ego gratification or something like that.
That's so important. That's so important, and I'm so happy for you, for her support. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
she sacrifices too, for
you have no idea.
yeah,
The thing is, I mean, I hate to get into this kind of stuff because it's like work, but like to be a fully formed family unit is really hard in 2025, and
yeah.
everybody's got to work at it. And I have such a supportive wife, and I could not do it without her.
Yeah. I don't think men talk about this enough. And I kind of was trying to create this moment to talk to you because sometimes I talk to you on the phone or we're having a video call and then your kids coming, they'll talk to you and you like code switch to this sweet, baby voice.
As opposed to what, you, Ian? I'm like a nice guy. Gosh.
You're one moment you're this, you're cold, and then in the next moment you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here in a moment. Like, and that's very sweet. That's very sweet and humanized moments that again, like I think bring me closer to you and who you really are as a person. I appreciate those moments. I know family is very very important to you. I don't think that especially men are given enough opportunities to talk about how important their families are and how much the family members support their success. So
Yeah.
I want to give you a moment to share that.
Well, and too, like I can't remember if we've talked about this or not, but I actually actively try not to talk about my family or my kids on these kind of things, just because I am sort of a crazy paranoid person, and I just feel like it's attack vectors for other people, who I know that there are people out there that do not like me and would want to hurt me, and I just don't want to give them that vector to mess with me on. But I'm very grateful for my family, very grateful for my kids, and I remember one time I got invited, and it really was so difficult to do it. I got invited on like a like what it's like to be a dad podcast, and that was the hardest podcast I've ever done. Right,
Wow.
probably second to this, whatever we're doing now. It's just because it's really hard to talk about that stuff in the context of work. It just
Mm.
is. Like, and I think it's hard for moms too. It's definitely hard for dads, and it's just there's not the, like, let's call it persona. There's not the fatherly paternalistic persona that a human being can code switch into in the workplace. You have to be somebody else, and people, I don't know why that is. I don't know where it originated from, but it's definitely, a boundary or a compartmentalization that people make for sure.
I think women in workplaces we're a lot more open to tell others like I need to go pick up my kids, or I need to reschedule this meeting because my kid is having a fever or something, right? Like we're very like I rarely hear that from my male colleagues. Is
Yeah.
that your experience? Like, am I crazy here? Am I biased?
No, you're absolutely right. And like when I have plenty of female connections. I worked in HR my whole career. I've known plenty of females in the workplace and that have kind of gone through this journey, and it's very challenging. And one of the things that I think, I mean, maybe this is kind of a blessing, is like, at least sometimes it's kind of socially acceptable to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been friends with a lot of guys in the workplace and outside of work, and none of them talk about it. And it's very different.
I've been a huge advocate. Since I started to have a voice, I've been a huge advocate for my male colleagues to get longer and longer, if not as long as the maternity leave, because I think it's so important. A lot of them, I have a colleague who recently had a newborn and went on a 2 weeks leave, and he came back. He's like, the dark circle, bags under the eye, and I'll be just completely distracted from everything work. And I'm like, are you okay? Take more time. And then he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like I feel like I should be okay, but I really haven't been. I haven't slept in like 2 weeks. Like this is a huge disruption. I feel like nowadays, if you are like just a responsible husband, a responsible dad, you are going to be taking on so much of the caregiving, especially during the newborn stage, and it's crazy to me that men don't talk about it. They don't feel safe talking about it at work.
Yeah, it's land that you miss up the opportunity to actually learn from other people too. Like I think that's probably the most difficult part. I always kind of jokingly say to people that if sleep deprivation causes memory loss and short and long term memory loss, and that's the only reason why people remember to have kids again is because they forgot how hard it was when it was going on. But it's
Yeah,
like, well, this is nature's way of making you forget.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very challenging, and I mean, the people, I don't know who these people are because I didn't have it, but the people who get their like kids to sleep the first night out of the hospital, like you are so blessed, you have no idea, because
yeah.
it's some people it's not the case, and it can really transform both the mom and the dad's life.
I haven't heard a single person from any of the parents I know who has babies sleeping from the first night. I think they probably made it up. I just
Yeah.
given the lack of psychological safety, they probably made it up.
Everybody wants to be like the awesome parent too. That's another thing you realize. Like everybody's like kind of competing with other people to
Yeah,
like be a good parent. It's so weird. I don't get it. I was like,
yeah.
yeah, we have hard times. I'm sure you have hard times, even if you don't act like it. It's like, all right, whatever.
Well, I mean, given how on LinkedIn we're all competing to be the awesome employee, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And it's like, here's the thing. There's a question for you. Do you think we're really competing for that? Like, is it who? What are we winning? Right? Like, is anybody winning anything for being like seen in that light? Because as far as I can tell, there is no like consolation prize for winning.
Yeah. Here's what I think is weird. American culture forces a surface level, like artificial happiness,
Yeah.
like this artificial perfection, and it's very different. Like I think this is very unique for American culture. I did not grow up in this culture, and it's one thing that weirded me out. I just in college I just noticed that everybody's so driving for so driven to achieve this perfect formula of an amazing college life. Like you have a mix between like academic achievement and party and connection and like a relationship and all of that. Like there's no time for rest, there's no time for genuine friendship. It's all like that. Everyone's driving for this completion of this formula. And I think that extended to my experience, how I experienced work connection as well, or at least the brand that we want to create for our professional identity. Like we are all seeking this perfection formula of like promotion every few years, or when remember at one point the hustling culture is very strong and everyone's like how is writing about how they're hustling, and then now there's like and then DI was a thing at one point. Everybody's writing about DNI, how they're advocating for it, and very quickly it's not a thing anymore. So we don't hear about those stories anymore. So it's like it's all like waves, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring forward Amazing Lives, because I want to actually bring on guests to talk about topics that they have a genuine, consistent interest and opinions for. But yeah, like I think again, like I think our culture played a huge part in this,
Yeah.
to answer your question.
Well, the good news is I'm a broken record, so the same stuff I was saying 7 years ago, I'm still saying today.
That's why I like you. That's why I wanted to invite you on.
Yeah.
And then that, and I think that's how I felt when I read your book as well, because I know you, I read this entire book in your voice, and I'm like, yeah, like that's Cole talking to me, you
Yeah.
know.
You're
So
not wrong. It's the exact stuff I say.
that's the exact stuff that you say, and you've written about as well, because I read your newsletter and picked up a lot of things. So let's talk about this book.
Sure.
If you have to use 3 words to describe it, what would they be?
I mean, this is not answering your question, but like there's 3 sections to the book, and it's business value, it's Gen AI, and it's how to win.
Yeah.
And I think that most describes like why, because like if you really think about it, it's like 3 small books instead of one big book, because each one, they do build upon one another, but they are independent enough to stand alone.
Yeah.
And one is like how to drive business value because no one's doing it right. One is generative AI is new. We're all scared about it. What are we going to do about it? And then the last is because we know it's new, and frankly, because I think a lot of the information you get from AI is wrong right now, here's how to win.
Yeah.
Right. And not just win in 2025, but win in the future too.
Yeah.
And so I'd say that's how I would describe the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So, the first thing I read, kind of the first section, praises for people analytics, praises for your book. That's the first page of your book, right?
I don't choose the page order, by the way, so blame
Right.
the
So the first recommendation says, in this book, Cole Napper offers a provocative and practical roadmap for future of work and workforce decision making. Provocative. I think that's the one word that I picked up on after I read this book. Would you agree? Like, do you think this is a provocative book?
I think so when I first announced it on LinkedIn, I said something like this will be the most provocative book in people analytics ever.
Yeah.
But that's like 6 or 7 months before the book launch. And I realized like I needed to kind of tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But like when I launched it again, I said, I just want to remind you guys, I said this was going to be the most provocative book in people analytics. And I think people are still not prepared because I think they think when I say that it's marketing, it's not marketing.
Yeah.
It's very real. Like it's extremely practical. There's a lot of things to take away from it. There is not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of, well, best practices say this. It's a lot of here. If you want to win, here's what you do.
Yeah.
And here's what not to do too.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not like I think one of the things I figured out about myself, and this kind of goes back to the beginning of the conversation, is just like by breathing, I'm provocative. And I don't know why. Like I think I'm normal. In my head, I'm normal. And I realized that like I'm just not. And I don't know why.
You are. You've been very real with me from the first conversation. You've never tried to hide who you are and what your opinions are. Is it a matter of like you not realizing your opinions are provocative? Like
I think it's that like conclusions that I come to naturally, other people just don't come to.
Yeah.
And so like let's use LinkedIn as an example. Like a lot of people, just convention of wisdom is chase the algorithm, right? Do whatever the algorithm tells you to do, you'll get ahead. Right. I can't tell you how many things I've seen about like how to become the best podcaster in the world. And it's like list of 10 things and we do 0 out of the 10 and we're very successful. And it's just like, I feel like I have to, the good version is like, I feel like I'm a very generative kind of orthogonal thinker. The bad version is I have to make every mistake myself and I have to learn everything the hard way. But through doing that, I have a lot of really practical advice that I think a lot of people can learn from. Because, and I had this experience, I remember leaving graduate school, and in graduate school, they teach you what the world is going to be like. And then you get out into the world and it's not like that.
Yeah.
And so I realized that like, oh, a lot of the wisdom that you get in life is like, oh, this is how to be successful in people analytics. It's just bad wisdom. And so it's like, why don't we take, some advice for like how to actually do it effectively. And maybe that, will have an impact. I don't know if it will, hopefully it will.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I think the first very provocative thing that I read in this book. I'm going to like read it to to this.
You're not gonna like force me to listen to all the
I will
provocative
force
things
you
I
to
wrote.
listen because this is gold. You said, as far as I can tell, virtually no people on his team are operating in the same way described above today, meaning calculating and measuring the ROI, how much money this team has actually made
Yep.
for the business. Considering the skill set to do so exists within many teams, this is more like a will issue than a skill issue. So you're basically saying that we're it's not because we cannot. It's because we don't want the accountability. We don't want the responsibility to do so.
Yeah.
And
Um,
that's provocative.
it's very provocative, and like again, I always think about these through the lens of like when I've been a manager of a team and I'm providing coaching to the team members that I have is I would much rather a skill issue than a will issue.
Yeah.
Can't can be changed. Won't is a much more difficult to change.
Yeah.
And so that's where again, like in a lot of ways, I feel like a lot of the messages I give, I feel like I'm fighting City Hall.
Yeah.
Because just because people can do something doesn't mean they will.
Yeah. Do you think so you in this book you talk about the first couple chapters, you talk about the last 15 years of people analytics as industry, and it seems like you come to
Which we've written about too, but it was after the book had already been sent to the publisher. I would have incorporated some of those ideas.
And then so I know that I read your series when it first came out from your newsletter, your Directionally Correct newsletter. So I'm familiar with those chapters, and you came to a conclusion that we're off track. Like we have to save ourselves from a bad ending if we want to be relevant, if we want to continue to flourish as a field, right? And then from this, obviously this book, this entire book is all about how we as the industry saving ourselves from the ending that we're heading to. What do you think is the biggest is the most important key? Is it AI? Because you talked a lot about AI in this book. Do you think AI is the solution? Is the most important solution?
I would say it's upstream of AI in the sense that if like here's a simple way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Is there's really kind of three branches on the decision tree of what could happen with HR over the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
One is, nothing happens, frankly, and AI is just a big, bubble that bursts and then nothing changes. And that's fine, right? The second is AI, let's say it has like medium impact. And then the third is AI has like a completely transformative impact, right? And I think that the second scenario is the most likely of AI has a medium impact. Because I don't think AI is going to come and take all our jobs in 10 years or whatever everybody's talking about. I could cite some research reasons why that we've done it like CAST, but I'm not going to get into that right now. And so I look at it in the sense of like, what is the highest likelihood? Well, if you know that it's not going to change, well, people analytics still needs to add value. If you know that AI is going to have a medium-sized impact on the business, what do you need to do? You need to be the leaders of that transformation, not the people who are transformed. Right. And so the book is written from the premise of this isn't something to be scared of. I'm not going to chide you on what you're doing wrong. What I'm going to say to do is there's a very compelling and charismatic future for you if you are an early adopter of this. And the thing is, this is in our blood because people analytics has always been the early adopter. It's always been the one that transformed via technology. And the way I look at it is I've been talking to people lately about like, there's really kind of 4 unique skill sets that you need to do like kind of the AI workforce transformation stuff. And it's data, it's technology, it's behavioral change, and it's frankly kind of like some of kind of the analytics and statistics. Well, guess what? People analytics has all 4 of those, right? And so we should be leading this change. And that's a compelling narrative because that puts us right in the thick of it, right in the driver's seat, right with the potential to be kind of the future of it. If HR is going to completely transform what's left of HR, it could just be people analytics. Now, it might not be called that. Like I think the names will change, but the core skill sets, it's going to be the skill sets of people analytics. And that to me should be the most empowering narrative out there.
Yeah. And I would say, like, even though we are not very good at measuring our ROI, we are a bunch of very creative and innovative and, early adopters of technology. And a lot of us come from like traditional HR field, right? Like I didn't go to school studying statistics or computer engineering. Like I went to school studying HR and kind of fell into this. A lot of us came from a non-STEM field, essentially, and then we kind of upskilled ourselves and learned all of these applications of statistical methodologies in this field that's wrapped in kind of quantitative data, sentiment, relationships, like all of that. We're trying to find a way to measure it. Like that's not something has been done very well anywhere else. So I would say we as a field definitely has a lot of very smart people, a lot of creative people, and we can do this if we seize this opportunity.
We so can, Yu Yan, and you're going to lead the way. Yu Yan for
So,
president.
so if people and our audiences want to be one of those people who sees the opportunity and want to get your book for it, where can they find it?
Anywhere books are sold, or if you want to go to colenapper.com, I can see all the things
You
we're
have a
doing on there.
website
So
now.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You are the actual big deal now that you have a website.
I mean, that's one of the things I've been wringing my hands on for years. All the conventional wisdom is you start a website, you build a newsletter, you get a CRM, and I always thought that stuff was very cringeworthy. And
Yeah.
so I've only done it this year where I finally feel like I have the corpus of things that are worthy of having a website. So I was like, all right, now's the time to really do this.
Yeah. The more I know you, and the more I feel like you are a wealth of knowledge, and you've always been a pleasure to talk to. This is my 10th compliments to you, Cole. I hope you go away from this little session feeling well complimented.
Well, I'll say this since you made me uncomfortable enough during this. I do not think people realize the level to which you care and that you have a level of brilliance and just self-awareness that I do not think most human beings have. So I think you're quite a special person, Yuyan, and I really appreciate you having me on here.
And thank you so much, Cole. Well, last couple of minutes, if people want to connect with you and tap into your wealth of knowledge and brilliance, where can people find you?
On LinkedIn, Directionally Correct, my website, book, see me at a conference, a lot of different places.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining our amazing lives today. Here's Cole Napper. Definitely get his book, People Analytics. Do you actually remember your subtitle? Using data-driven HR and Gen AI as a business asset. For sure, get this book. It's everywhere you can get a book for, and I've read it cover to cover. It's a brilliant book, and if you want to get to know Cole better, connect with him on LinkedIn and follow his work, Directionally Correct podcast and newsletter.
Well, thanks for having me, Ian.
All right.